guys, and welcome back to Adoptee Things. Today we're going to talk about my Ancestry DNA results update. So as you might know, if you've ever used Ancestry DNA, sometimes your DNA can be updated, as in your estimates. So your ethnicity estimates are based on databases of whatever database that company uses, so it can vary from database to database, and it can be updated as the science improves or changes, gets better. And as they say at Ancestry, your DNA doesn't change, but the science does. So every now and then I get a little update, which is kind of exciting for me. I love DNA estimates. I think they're so interesting and they do vary, so I get a little variety sometimes, and I think the updates are kind of fun. So I'm gonna pull up mine. I did post a video a couple years back, or a year or so back, of my original Ancestry DNA ethnicity estimates. So I'm gonna go through those first, take a look at what they were in, I believe, August of 2018. And then I will look at them and compare them to what they are now as of the update from a couple of days ago. So about a 2 years almost difference in the science behind it. So let's take a look. So August of 2018, my estimates were just about mostly England, of course. So England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe were about 63%. The Native American, as they called it then, they called it Native American, I'll talk about that too, was 17% and wasn't too specific. It said certain areas of Mexico and New Mexico, which was pretty specific at the time, but it's even better now. Spain was about 12%, Portugal 2%, Italy 2%, and then down with Ireland, Scotland, Turkey, Germanic Europe, and the Basque region all at 1%. So that was the original estimate. I remember being kind of surprised at what I got, since I'd always been told, oh, you're German, Irish, English, Hispanic, and maybe some other things. It was a bit of a mix. And then when I actually got my results, I was surprised to learn just how English I was. My birth mother was obviously very English, and she had a bit of Irish, German, and most of our surnames on that side were Irish, German, English, so that's probably where the idea came from in her mind, that we were, oh, very German. Some of my great-grandparents came over from Germany, but my guess is that they mixed in with a lot of English people, so that DNA estimate went way up. Now my birth father, as I can now confirm, he is half Spanish and half Mexican. So that is where it kind of mixes in a little bit more on my DNA estimates. So I can actually, in my next video, I think I'm going to compare my DNA to my birth father's. Since he's tested, I can actually put our estimates side by side and actually see kind of where my DNA came from him, which is kind of cool to see how you inherit things differently, and from your siblings too, which is pretty crazy. So now I'm gonna go over to my new DNA estimate and see where the differences are. Excuse me while I click. So with my new estimate, so this is updated as of a few days ago, my biggest one is of course England, Wales, Northwestern Europe. That's at 53% now, so it's gone down a little bit. I think it's just spread out to more regions now that it can be really specific. This is going to be more focused in the Yorkshire and East Midlands, England, which is new information for me. So it's kind of cool that you can actually trace your heritage to a certain area, which can be probably pretty helpful with verifying where your relatives came from. Now, Spain actually went up a little bit too and spread out. So Spain is now at 15%, and my indigenous Americas, so this is what used to be Native American. They changed it from Native American to Indigenous Americas, which I think is really smart. It is more broad, since when a lot of people see Native American, they assume that they're from like the United States or something, that's what type of Native American that their DNA has. But that is actually some of the time and a lot of the time incorrect. It can be very broad. It can be First Nations, you can be more up north, it can be Native American, or you can be from Latin America. It really goes into a lot of different places. So I think that it's smart that they changed it. And of course mine specifically says Mexico, and some parts of New Mexico. Now what's been added is Southern Colorado, which I have never seen. I don't have any relatives who've been in Southern Colorado or have lived there. I know I have some distant cousins that live there now, but I think that's pretty cool. After looking into my birth father's side, almost everybody, and I mean everybody, lives in New Mexico or Arizona or somewhere right in between there. So we've been in the same places in New Mexico for hundreds of years. I can't even find records past like 1700s, 1600s that say that we aren't in New Mexico. So pretty crazy. So I'm thinking maybe we were there before New Mexico was New Mexico. That could be some Native American, and that could be coming up from Mexico and moving to New Mexico. Who knows? It's a whole lot of history there. So we have central New Mexico, central and southern New Mexico, and then we go down into Mexico proper. Of course, we have eastern Jalisco, Aguascalientes, and western Guanajuato. It's specifically northeastern Jalisco. So I have been able to actually trace my relatives to Jalisco. And it is definitely northeastern Jalisco. I'm amazed at how accurate that is. My great-grandmother on my birth father's side, who came over to the States from Mexico, was from northeastern Jalisco, and her family before that were too. So that's pretty amazing to me that they can be so specific and accurate as well. So moving down to the smaller regions that we have, it's broken up quite a bit. So this is where you get the kind of DNA mutt feeling. So I can't even have them all in one screenshot, so I'm gonna break it down. So we're going to Ireland and Scotland, 3%, Portugal, 2%, Indigenous Americas North, which I think is smart that they added that, 2%, Turkey and the Caucasus, 1%, Norway 1%, France 1%, and it goes down Germany, Italy, Sweden, Sardinia, Eastern Europe and Russia, the Basque region, and then it goes down to Greece and the Balkans, and last but not least, Indigenous Americas, Yucatan Peninsula. Yucatan Peninsula. So to make it a little bit easier, I did a bit of math and just added up the regions that are within the same areas. So for example, Ireland and Scotland and France, Norway, Sweden, I'm just gonna bunch those up into European. So the English estimate, I'm gonna add those to, and things like the Basque region, Portugal, I'm adding those to the Spanish percentage, and of course all the indigenous percentages I'll add together too. So when you break it down that way, the final numbers are 65% England and Europe area, 18% Spanish Iberian area, and 17% Indigenous Americas. So that's actually not too far off from what my original estimate was, which shows that it's just gotten more specific and breaks down a little bit more, which I think is nice. You can really look into the details of your DNA and maybe even find some regions that your family was from. Again, I'm amazed at how specific and accurate it can be, at least for my case. I try and keep it simple. You saw there are like 25 different regions listed. So when people ask me what my heritage or my background is, I just say, you know, I'm about half English, a quarter Mexican, a quarter Spanish. It's complicated, so I try and keep it as simple as possible, but since my birth mother was English, birth father's half Spanish, half Mexican, that's the way I try and say it, just to keep it the most simple, and then I'm not listing 30 different places. So that's my DNA update. I highly recommend checking your accounts, see if yours has been updated, it should be, and comparing where it was at the start and where it is now. See if your numbers match up like mine do. I know some have very dramatic differences, things going way up, things going way down, regions disappearing altogether. So take a look, put in the comments below, because mine hasn't changed that much. I would love to hear if yours changed a whole bunch, because I know I've seen some crazy stories. So please let me know what your results did and if they went all over the place. I'd love to see it. All right, until next time.